Hey, KCOC family, I hope this finds you well. Over the last several weeks, the elders and ministry staff have met multiple times to pray and visit about our plan moving forward. And today, we're ready to share an update with you about that plan. Our plan will involve several phases. Phase one will begin this Sunday, May the 24th, and will continue through Sunday, June the 7th. During this time, we plan to continue to worship online just as we have been over the last several months. What will be new in phase one is that in addition to worshiping online, we want to encourage you to think creatively about ways to gather with others from KCOC in smaller gatherings. This might mean gathering with others to watch the online worship service on Sunday morning. It might mean gathering with others for prayer and fellowship and connection on a back porch or outdoors. It might mean gathering with others that you've been gathering with all along, but with more intentionality and taking advantage of opportunities to pray and to encourage one another. We know that there have been all kinds of creative ideas implemented during this time by so many of you, and we want you to keep doing those things. We want you to come up with new ideas that help build community and create connection and ultimately strengthen the bonds that we share as a church family. We know that part of what it means to be a church is connected to the relationships that we have with one another and the opportunities that we have to gather in community to pray and to receive encouragement from being together. And we know that meaningful connections are something that have been difficult during this season. And so we have prayerfully taken all of those things into consideration during this phase. And we want to begin to encourage, as you have opportunity and can do that in a slow and careful and safe way, we want to encourage you to gather with others in smaller groups. Maybe to say it really simply, what we're hoping for is to try and maximize potential connection, but minimize risk as much as possible during this phase. We will leave it to you to implement your ideas. We won't be formally organizing anything from the church staff, but we want you to use wisdom and safe practices that, as you gather, that show care for yourself and for one another. And we trust that you'll do that. That being said, we know that some of you may not be ready or you may not be able to gather, and we want you to feel no pressure at all. We will continue to gather online, and we'll continue to provide ways to connect. One of those ways that we will provide to connect is through our drive-through prayer time. The time we hosted this past Monday, our first drive-through prayer time, was wonderful, and we appreciate those of you that came by for prayer. The elders and staff are planning to offer some additional times like these over the next several weeks. And so we hope that you will take advantage of those. We hope that they'll provide a way for some of you to get out, some of you to receive some encouragement, interact with someone else in a safe and socially distanced way, and to be able to connect with someone outside of your home. Our goal is, during this phase, is to encourage connection, community, and really to encourage prayer. And as we do this, we want to use safe practices. We want to try to limit the number of people at any one particular gathering. And so those are kind of some of our initial plans for phase one. Now, I want to comment specifically about two groups that are impacted with phase one, our student ministry and our grief share ministry. As you all know, summer is an important time for our students. So much spiritual and relationship growth takes place during a summer for our youth ministry. And so during this phase, we hope that our decision to allow some smaller gatherings will allow also for our summer student ministry plans to begin to kind of slowly roll out. Chris is meeting with his student ministry team Thursday, May the 21st in the evening, and we'll be in contact with the youth ministry families in the days ahead. Just know that we are doing everything we can to help create some kind of summer experiences for our students so that those spiritual growth opportunities and discipleship opportunities can still take place. And we'll do that in a way that is safe and uses practices that attempt to care for all of our students and one another. Our other specific ministry that's impacted by this first phase is our Grief Share ministry. Grief Share is a group that supports others that are supports folks that are going through or have lost grief or have lost someone at some point in the past that they love. And we know that during this last season, this time that we've been in sheltering in place and quarantining, isolation can make grief even more difficult than it already is. And so we wanted to provide the freedom for this group to meet in a way that is safe, that's socially distanced, so that they can provide the care that is needed and the support that is needed for those that are a part of this important ministry. So that's phase one. And as I said, it'll go on for the next several weeks. Our plan is to move to phase two on Sunday, June the 14th. As we get closer to June the 14th, those decisions will be made with a prayerful look at the CDC data and the information that local health and government recommendations are out and being made at that time. And so just be listening for details as we get closer to June the 14th. But I want to go ahead and talk for a second about phase two. Assuming things look favorable, June 14th will begin phase two, and it'll be the first day that we have a worship gathering here at our building. During phase two, I want you to also know that online worship will still continue. We're gonna make some changes, and one of those changes is going to be that we're going to move our worship gathering into the gym. There are a number of reasons for this, and so I want to talk about those really quickly. Number one, in the gym, it'll be easier for us to socially distance. Chairs will be set up according to our plan at this point in various groupings, and all of those groupings will be 6 feet apart. And also, depending on the expected crowd, we may even have multiple services and have even a dedicated services for those over a certain age. And so you can be listening for details about that, and let us know if you plan to come, and we'll have some ways for you to do that in the coming days. The other thing about having worship in the gym is that the gym is just easier to clean. Between services, after services, it's an easier space to have everyone in the same large space, but still in a spread out way. And if we can sit in our chairs versus in the pews, all of those logistics will just be easier to organize and to coordinate. So we'll have some other changes like communion. During worship, we will not be passing trays. We'll be using prepackaged communion cups that have a little wafer on the top, and we'll have those available to you when you arrive. They'll be handed to you in a safe way. There'll be hand sanitizing stations located around the worship space and near the restrooms. We think we have a plan and for how to make it comfortable and for as many people as possible to come to worship with us and together on that day. And we're excited about that plan. We're excited about being back together. And so we want you to know that and be looking forward to that. Now, I imagine that some of you might be wondering why June 14th. And so there are a number of reasons for that. And I want to speak to that for just a moment. First of all, in answering that question, I want you to know, and I really can't emphasize enough, that we have prayed, we have met, we have talked about this consistently over the last several weeks, really throughout this entire situation. We know that really intelligent people can and do disagree on the path forward. And so for some of you, June 14th feels soon, and for others, it feels late. And we understand that. We made a decision as a leadership, and we arrived at this place after much consideration of all those factors. And so here are some of the factors that led to our decision for June 14th. First of all, the logistics. We have a small staff, and there is a lot to do before we gather on June the 14th. When we do gather, we'll give you more details as we get closer, but it's important even now that you know it will not look like it did back on March the 8th when we last met together. And so we need time to prepare for June 14th and prepare for making the gym feel like and look like and function like a worship space. And that involves equipment and technology and seating and building a stage and all kinds of details that need to take place. We'll be working to prepare our building, and those plans have actually already started this week. And I think you'll be encouraged by some of the ideas that we're talking about. In addition to preparing the building, we need time to prepare for volunteers and greeters and things like that. You know, you've heard me say before, it takes a lot of people to make a Sunday morning happen. And because things will look different than they did back on March the 8th, we need time to prepare everyone so that we can not only have these gatherings, but we can have them in a way that is meaningful, that is encouraging, and that feels comfortable for as many people as possible. The other reason we landed on June 14th is that what I just alluded to is that when we gather, we want as many people to come as possibly can come. And we know that some of you were ready yesterday. And for those of you in that place, I appreciate your patience. I thank you for your patience. I'm asking that you continue to have patience on behalf of your brothers and sisters that are not quite ready yet. And we hope that by pushing it back to June the 14th and maybe waiting a little longer than some are ready, that as a leadership, we hope that that means that when we gather, that as many as possible will feel comfortable coming. And so because it provides time for the data to continue to come in as businesses open back up, it gives others time, a chance to assess their readiness and also to pray about their readiness. And so June 14th, really, I think the thing that's probably the most important about that day is it just gives us a couple more weeks. It gives us a little more time. And we think that that time will help us know how things continue to play out in our area, as well as it'll give us time to see if CDC guidelines change on anything, on things like the size of our gatherings, guidelines for the high-risk populations, things like that. So if you're ready, our encouragement is to you to begin to gather with others using safe practices, gather with them to worship online, hosting small gatherings in homes, in parking lots with chairs spread out, gather with others who share the same maybe life stage or comfort level as you, and you can do that. We'll let that kind of happen organically, but we want you to use those times to create meaningful connection. And really, when you're together, I want you to pray. I want to plead with you to pray. And in fact, that's what I want to leave you with today. As I have mentioned in other updates, we believe that God is working in this. I do not believe that God did this, but I believe that God is using it. And I just want to remind you of some things that have happened during this time. And we have served thousands of kids over the last several weeks. On Mondays, our church has had a number of volunteers that have served students and loaded school buses to deliver school lunches with Kaufman ISD. That's been a great ministry that's continued to happen. We have been the church in that way. This last Monday, we had 39 people give blood, the largest blood drive that I think our church may have ever hosted. We have had hundreds, thousands of phone calls and texts that you have given to each other, cards that you've sent to one another in the mail. We've had people serve and volunteer at the Help Center. We had a food donation drive back around Easter. We had a drive-through prayer event. Suzanne has done things with our children and our bingo on Saturdays, and she did an Easter art project. There have been lots of opportunities for students that Chris has created, devotionals and Bible classes, and a Wednesday afternoon gathering that he's used to try to connect. He's delivered drinks to kids, and there's been a lot of different ways that our students have been able to connect. We had a Guess Who's Coming to Dinner event a couple of weeks ago, right? So some of these were virtual, some of these were in person, but just a taste is what I want to give you, a taste of how things have already really continued to happen throughout this entire process. And so we know God's working, and we also know that what the enemy would love to do more than anything else during this time is to destroy some churches along the way. And so my encouragement for all of us is to continue to lean into Christ during this season so that all of us look more like him on the other side of this. And with the time that we have between now and June the 14th, my request of you, my plea for you is that we all commit to be in prayer. We know that many of you have already been doing this consistently, and I thank you. And I want to encourage all of us to keep it up, to redouble our efforts, and to pray in the coming weeks. Pray for your decision about gathering. Pray for the decisions that others will make. Pray for wisdom for the elders and staff as we all make decisions about new things that none of us have ever dealt with before. Pray for the plans that are being made and all the details and logistics that will take place. during this next couple of weeks and really in the weeks ahead. And pray for and reach out to each other, others that you know are dealing with challenges of various kinds during this time. If you're willing to volunteer some time to help us prepare, there will be some things that we need help with, and you can reach out to me or Chris and let us know, and we'll try to find a way for you to serve. But as we move forward, we want you to know that we're going to move through each phase prayerfully. We're going to take all the factors into consideration because we care about not only about your physical health, but also your spiritual health, the physical and spiritual health of each one of you. And so be listening as we get closer to June 14th. There'll be other updates and information that we'll send out as we'll share specific details about what that gathering will look like. And until then, know that we love you. We're here for you. If we can serve or encourage you in any way, please let us know how that we can do that. And we'll be in contact with you. And so let us know as we do that as well. We appreciate the support, the prayers that have happened as we've all walked this road together. I hope you'll reach out to us with any questions or feedback. Know that we would love to hear from you. I love you, church, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And I pray peace to you and to your house this day. God bless.